This afternoon's session will be about fueling the use of Sway in school, and it's absolutely applicable to use this in the classroom, but also on the admin side of school. I see and regularly come into schools that are using Office 365 and have been for a while, where it's being used for teaching and learning purposes as effectively it might be used in the admin team. Before we start, I want to let you know this afternoon that you are going to be able to become a certified MIE, that's a Microsoft Innovative Educator. That's equivalent to doing several hours of study, but we will cover all of that content during this afternoon's webinar. That means you can redeem a code at the end of the webinar to become a qualified MIE.
Oh, wow.
If you search on your web browser for the Microsoft Education Center, and it will come up with a page that looks similar to the screenshot on the right hand side. Then where the two fingers are pointing in the right hand side of the screen, you can sign in if you already have a Microsoft Education Center account, or you can create one using your school email address. And then at the end of the session, I'll have another screenshot about where to click and then how to use the code I'm going to give you so you can get the certified MIE qualification from Microsoft. I'm just going to allow you a minute to go away and get that page open so you're ready to redeem the code at the end, and I'll let other people join us who I know are coming along this afternoon. So I'll be back with you in about 1 minute's time while you do that. Okay, some of you may be thinking, well, what's the benefit of doing that? And I'll quickly cover the reason why we're offering that to you. If you want to know more on how to use Office 365, you on the Microsoft Education Center can complete various courses which will teach you how to use different products in Office 365. It will also then allow you to join learning pathways, which are sequences of learning, where if you've got a particular theme and it might link to a development project in school, or it might lead to improving the school through a vision, you can use the Microsoft Education Center to grow knowledge and skills within the staff in the school and help to then bring that back into the school improvement program. So today we're going to make you a certified MIE, like on the left hand side of the screen. Very soon we'll be running an MIE expert course where you can take the next step after becoming a certified MIE, and we will work with you on a program of sessions where it helps you to write your application that you'll submit to Microsoft to become a certified MIE. We have quite a few of those now in schools, and they're really making a difference in usually the classroom, but sometimes in leadership teams in the school, and also sometimes in administrative roles in the school. And it all helps to support digital transformation and make sure that you've got the skills in school that is successful. It also can lead to some schools becoming showcase schools, and we will run courses on those in the future. If you want to and you enjoy just the aspect of training, you can offer to support other schools, so you can become an MIE trainer or an MIE master trainer and work with other schools. You can also become an MIE fellow. And once the current pandemic is over, there will be events such as the E2 event, which runs annually, where you competition, and it is competition run by Microsoft, where you can get flown out to various locations of the world. So the last one was in Australia. It's all paid for by Microsoft. And you do that from showcasing what you're doing as an MIE trainer and how you're supporting your school and other schools around you in the UK. So this afternoon, we are going to focus on how to use Sway, and we are going to be using Sway for creating them, but also getting them out and understanding what they are and what they do. So the Sway presentations themselves are like alternatives to using more traditional methods of presentation. And there's nothing wrong with PowerPoint, but we've all seen PowerPoint for the whole of our life. And as lovely as it is, we could do with shaking that up a bit and then moving into the modern world. So Sway offers that. You'll be looking at how we create a storyline and then how we add cards into that storyline to build content, and then how we can remix the content that we've got. So unlike PowerPoint, it's a lot more fluidic in its manner, and it's quick and easy to get some content out. We mentioned the Microsoft Education Center. Well, the Microsoft Education Center has various courses on it. So if after this you're thinking, well, Martin covered quite a bit of content there and I'd like to go back and revisit it in my own time, when we give you the accreditation points, it will also link you to 2 courses: the digital storytelling telling using Microsoft Sway, which is more suitable for teaching and learning in the classroom. You can also have building literacy, but a lot of those courses also translate over into things like newsletters if you're going to use Sway for those purposes in school. So I'm just going to swap over screens and we'll go over to look at Sway in flesh. Any questions so far? Anything that anybody is wondering about? No? Okay. So when you get to Office 365, you're either going to already be in here and in your Outlook software. You may be signing in for the first time and landing on the landing page. If you haven't got the Office 365 apps stacked vertically along the side because you're not on the landing page, they will be over here in the App Launcher. The App Launcher is where you reach all of your frequently used apps. You can pin them and unpin them so that they're here on the front page. If you haven't used Sway before, it may not be there where you've got your frequently used apps, and you may have to go to all apps down here, scroll down in alphabetical order until you reach Sway, and Sway is right there. It will either overwrite the tab you're working in, or it will open up in a new tab. I tend to make sure it's open in a new tab so I can still go back to the previous tab, particularly if that's the email that I'm using. When you've opened up Sway, you'll come to a landing page. It will show you the Sways that you've recently edited. It will allow you to make a new blank Sway and start to suggest some templates that you could use. And the newsletter template there is quite a frequently used one in schools. I see a lot of schools now moving from maybe producing newsletters in things like Publisher or Word and adopting Sway, because Sway is a live format and it behaves a bit more like a website where it flows rather than being a static document. And you may want to move between all of those formats just to make it interesting for your parents. So you may say as a school, we're going to remix or readjust the layout in the Sway instead, and that's quite quick and easy to do. So if you want to start a new blank Sway, you click there, it will launch another window and you'll be straight into the Sway builder. These rectangles on the screen are called cards, and you build up your cards by pressing the plus points. You then have your cards forming a storyline, which when you come into Sway for the first time will flow from top to bottom, and that'll be vertical. But you can change the layout of Sways if you wish, and you can have them working horizontally, and we'll show you how to do that a little bit later. So the first thing you've got is your title. So it might be that we'll call this school newsletter. And you can then have a background to it if you wish. In the backgrounds, you can pick from backgrounds that are in here that are categorized, or you might say that I know the name of my school. So I'm going to say this is going to be Turn It On School. Let's see if I can find our own logo. And you've got a search engine built in here from Bing straight away. Turn it on, let's say IT. The search engine means that for you and for pupils, you don't have to go to other places and you don't have to go looking for images out in another web browser. And for pupils, it means that everything's in one place, and then you can then bring those images over. So here we go, we've got primary school. I might have that as my primary school and drop that into there. And you can see how quick and easy it is to drop things in place. And it's not confusing because we don't have to go somewhere else. You can, if you want to, upload your own image, and that's done by the upload button, or you can just use the images you've got from the search. And the editing tools that you have available to you, emphasize is the same as bold, accent is the same as as italics, if I can talk this afternoon. You could add links. So it might be that the newsletter also is hosted on your website. So you might want to hyperlink that lettering there. So where it says newsletter, if your website was a place where parents could also click and get the newsletter, the title could be a hyperlink to another copy. It depends on how you want to do this, and you can use that hyperlink option in different ways. So now I've got my title, I'm going to add in another card, and then I have various cards available to me. What Sway will do is try to make intelligent suggestions as the type of card that you have next. And then you could override that and you can go to the various card types. So you've got headings, that's for a main heading, and you can get heading 2, which is a subheading. You can have a body of text, or over here on media, you can insert images into Sways. You can embed videos that can play. You can also embed audio. So I've seen some schools now for newsletters having Christmas carol competitions or Christmas song competitions, and pupils in different classes have been recording their songs and they've been embedding the audio in the newsletter so parents can just click it live in this way. You can embed code from other websites. You can also upload there as well. And then you can group images in different ways automatically get. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at some of those options as we build. So I think first of all, I'll have a heading. And the heading might be dates of the diary. And then we'll add another box in underneath, and I think what we'll have is a text box. So we might say 1st of December might be carol competition, and then 10th of December maybe a stream of school production, because we're going to stream it this year because we can't have all the parents in the hall together. And then it might be 18th of December, break up for holidays. That's all well and good, but I may want to format that in some way. I may want that in bullet points. I think I will change that into bullet points. So you've got those formatting options available to you there. You can change the emphasis in here between a narrow focus and a wide focus. I think I'll change that to wide focus. As you see there, it does increase the size of the text. Now, you're probably already thinking, this is great. I'm seeing how you're building it, but I don't know how this is going to look in reality. Well, the play button at the top there is there so you can always get a quick view of what this looks like from the person seeing it as a finished product rather than you building it at the same time. So if I go into play, here we go. I've got school newsletter, dates for your diary. I'm scrolling across on this one. I thought I selected really vertical hold. So it scrolls across almost like slide to slide, and we'll change that to vertical later on. So I'll go back to edit. And in edit mode there, we've got the option then to see what we do next. Well, I think we'll choose a different type of card because I want to make this more interesting. I think this time I'll go to media. And what we may have, and in fact, I'm going to go to group. What we'll have is no, we won't. We'll go to media. We'll have image. And in here, then, we might want some images for Christmas carols, because I want it to emphasize the dates in the diary. So let's see what we get. I might go very traditional and pop that in there, and I'm going to change the focus to have the focus be large. Then I'm going to enter another section. So this might be, instead of it being heading 1, we'll have heading 1 here. So this might now be an article about, let's pick coming term, so spring term. Looking ahead. And then I'd like to, under spring term, I want to get another heading, heading 2 here, spring term, and this might be the new curriculum. And then what we're going to do is we're going to change the curriculum in school. So we will be launching a topic-based curriculum. And then we could explain how that curriculum is going to work there. So then I might want to have another heading, and in this heading section I am going to have, it's called Looking Back. And I'm going to add a second heading underneath, and it might be school over the years. And then I'm going to add in a group where we have maybe a comparison picture. So it might be, let's have old school. And we'll find something that's relatively comparable. Let's try that one. We'll drop that one in there. And then we'll have a new school building. We'll imagine that we've been lucky enough to get investment to build a new school building and swap it between sites. So new school building, and any of these look particularly new. We'll say that's our new school building just for argument's sake. Looks quite, oh no, let's swap it. Let's drop that one in instead. A flashy school instead. And if we want to get rid of a card, all you do is you press the delete button on the side, and then we could move that up into there so it sits on top. So now we've got a fair bit of content. We might want to just check back and see how that's going to look. So I'm on a side scroll at the moment. I am going to change that in a minute. And there's my dates of the diary and my Christmas carols. Moving across, I've got spring term and information about new curriculum. And I've got my looking back. When I said the comparison, it means I can slide automatically between the two images. So people could slide between one and the other. That's got lots of uses, both for admin purposes, but also for in the classroom as well. You can slide between different images as a comparison. If you chose things like stack, it would mean those images stack up like postcards, like cue cards. If you're making a presentation, you can flip between them, they flip over the top of each other. So there's lots of different ways to organize your images. Now, once you've got that going, you're going to want to change your design. So I'm going to go design and away from storyline. The great thing about design is that we can remix and readjust our sway really easily based on what we're doing. And that's quite a pleasing thing, but also it can be quite frustrating for some people. So some people have contacted me and said, do you know what? It's not like PowerPoint. In PowerPoint, we could just dip in and we could quickly change a title or amend a font. You can remix a sway really quickly, but what you have to do is almost get okay with the fact that you're going to relinquish some of that control. And the choices are made quickly, but the choices are sometimes made for you. And you can go in and you can spend time fine-tuning the presentation. But what you're better off doing is investing time in looking at the remixes. So when you get to design, you can click open styles on the side. And this is where I can choose the way they work. So I could have traditional slides like a PowerPoint, and that would be there. And then I could scroll through my slides and it would give me a feel for how it looks like when I go through, but I don't want that. I'd like it to be vertical. So then I can choose here how it goes as a flow down the page. I think that works better for a newsletter format than the horizontal, but you can quickly move by them and change the styles there. You've also got the ability to change the formatting very quickly. So it might be that I want to completely change the layout of this, but instead of me having to go in and change everything, I can choose some of the pre-formatted options. Now, having a pink newsletter, unless you've got pink as your school colours, may not be the best option, but what you can do is go through, reorganize it quickly using these, and you can see how quickly the whole thing, the organization, changes. I think I'm going to go back to that view there, and I might apply this one here as well. That looks like quite a good option for me. And the layout of that seems to work. I've got my main title showing up in these bands here. I've got my subtitles like new curriculum in the school over the years there. Got quite a bit of emphasis on that picture, so what I might go back is and change that in a minute. But in here, the remixing and the restyling is something that's very fast, quick and easy to do, and it's meant to be that way. When I said earlier about you might want to move between different formats, or you might want to change the layout so parents don't get so bored with the familiar layout that they're going to get every single term. So once a term, you might choose the layout, change the layout of your letter and the formatting. It just gets parents more interested and draws them in if you're going to use it for a newsletter room. I'm using this for teaching and learning, and I'm saying to pupils, okay, I think you could do a better design, or I think there's a different way that you could do that that's more engaging. They can quite quickly come into here and they can remix it very, very easily. There's a remix button up here as well at the top. So if I choose to remix my letter after I've chosen that, I can get it to remix automatically, and the remix is done. So as far as I'm concerned in the classroom, I can undo it as well if I wish. There's the undo button at the top. I'm not wasting a lot of valuable learning time. And as with PowerPoint, it can take forever sometimes for pupils just to format a slide, work out the transitions, change the fonts, insert the picture. Well, it isn't that way in Sway. It's very quick, it's very fluidic, it just works. So whichever side of the school you're working on, whether you're coming at this from an admin perspective or whether you are going to think about using this from a teaching and learning perspective in the classroom, the ability to change things up is quite quick. If you want to then customize it further still, where I said you can go in and fine tune things like fonts, that's where you press that customize button, and you can come in here and you can do things like change the type of font you want to have. So if I thought I would change that to ombre, it would remix in there, and just going to check that works down there. Okay, it probably does just about work without being too annoying. Are there any better ones that I could use? I might go down to have, let's try teaser. Yeah, that's better. So I'm going to go back, and I've remixed that now. I didn't like the remix, so I undid it. I've changed my font by customizing, and that's as far as I want to go with styles. So I'm going to flick that on the side. I'm going to go back across the storyline. I've also thought, well, the picture at the moment where I looked at Christmas carols is too big. You can change the size of the picture. I think I might have medium-sized display. And what I want to do now is go back in Play and see how this looks. So as I'm scrolling down, got my important dates coming in. That picture still looks all right. I might make that a bit smaller still. And then I've got my information coming in there, and I can scroll backwards and forwards. So you start to get a feel really quickly for how easy it is to edit in this way and change the layout of something. But you could also change, and move that to small focus, you could also change where something is. So if I decided I wanted to have my looking back above, I can pick up my looking back and I can move it up, and I can pop it in underneath Christmas carols, and then I've moved the other section down about what's coming in the spring term, because actually I wanted the looking back and the reminiscing to be before the looking forwards. Well, you can do that with a whole section with all the cards that are locked together, or you could pick up a card and you could change it around. So it might be that up here and these two, I want this to work in a different way. So I want to pick up this card and I want to move this card down so it goes underneath that. And you can see when I pick it up, it's a blue, no it's not, it's a green bar today above the picture or below the picture. And that says where this is going to land. So if I wanted to put it back, it can go back underneath, and it's absolutely fine. I can also do things like change focal points in pictures. So if you're used to editing videos or editing pictures, you can change the focal points in the whole picture. So if you wanted the focal point to be in the middle of the picture, it's now going to focus on that rather than. And I'm going to come out of there, and I might go back and I might check my remix yet again. So I've now got a smaller picture on the side. That suits my Christmas carols better. It's not dominating the bottom. And then in here, I've got the focal point being the middle of the picture. Okay, it's too focused, so I probably want to go back and finish that at some point. So if I go back to the edit mode, there are other options in here then for once you've got your Sway, well, how do we get it out to an audience? And it's quite important that you've made it, but you don't want it just to sit with you. So the share options on the side are very, very important to think about, and think about what your audience is. So if you were building this for an internal newsletter, it was only going to staff, then you'd leave it on those in your organization, those people in your school that have this link. You could say that you're going to make it specific people in your school or specific groups of people. So you don't wish this to be general consumption for the whole staff, but you might want the leadership team just to have this Sway. So that's when you apply those options. Or you could have anyone with this link. So if this was going to be a newsletter and an external thing, you would absolutely want to choose anyone with this link. Because if you left it on this organization, it would then go as a link, but when people clicked it at home, it didn't have a school email address, it wouldn't work for them. And you get lots of people contacting you saying, I can't access the newsletter. So anyone with this link is quite important. And as you can see, Sway links out to social media. So if you are someone who tweets your newsletter each week, or you post it on your feed in Facebook, you can get it there. You can copy the link here, and then that link could go into, it could be going into a class team like some of the previous sessions we've looked at. It could go into any other document. You could have it as a link, a Word, or you can link as it is. You can have it so people can edit as well. So at the moment there, I had the view link, so that means that they can view the finished product. But if you want to co-collaborate and you've got somebody else in the school, or if you've got a group of pupils that want to edit together, you can give them an editing version of the link, and then they'd end up here on the editing side. But you've got to be very careful. If you're sharing this outside of school and you want this to go to parents, whatever you do, don't give them the editing link, because they'll get into the editing side and they'll then remix it for you or destroy it for you. So make sure it goes out there. You can also get an embedding code, and the embedding code here says 760 px means pixels, which are measurements of dots on the screen, by 500 pixels. And if you wanted to then have this sway in your school website, for instance, you could get this link and then you could use it to host the sway. So the sway appeared as a physical document inside your website. You just copy it to clipboard and then take it over to there. I know some people that are joining this session today are managing the website, so that could be something that's of interest to you. You can also get a visual link. And the visual link there will give you a nice visual link to click, and you can copy that, and instead of it being a text-based link, they click this as like a thumbnail or a button, and then it takes them into the school newsletter, and it takes the header from the page we had on the front, and away you go. So there's lots of different ways to share it out, but you just need to consider, what's your audience? Do you want to share this for editing? Do you want to share this for viewing? And make sure that you apply the correct options. You have got more options hidden. The other things you can do, if you were sharing something and actually it had pictures of children in there, or it had some names of children, and you wanted to be GDPR compliant, and what you didn't want were parents outside of the school, or maybe you were sharing this because you're having a video embedded here for sharing a school production, and what you want to do is share the program in one of these cards for all the pupils that have taken part. Maybe you've got some stills photos that were taken during rehearsals. You could really build a nice program as a sway and then have the video at the end, but you might want to make sure that only people with the link can view it, and you're going to share that password only with parents. So one of the ways that you could restrict that is to say that you are going to have the ability for viewers to share sway buttons, view to share sway button, which means that they can't or can reshare the sway. So if I untick it, it means that they don't have the ability to share it with anybody else. And you could also have a password required to view your sway if you wish, and then you could share that separately with the parents, and you can choose whether that applies to anyone or only the people that edit with the password. So I would urge you, if you're going to share this externally and you've got something in there with people images and people names, apply a password. Keep the same password if you want for the school, or if it's just for a special production, it's a good way for you to remain in control of your data and make sure it doesn't get into the hands of anyone who shouldn't have that password. Obviously, you can't stop people resharing the password with a relative, but you've taken every reasonable step there to be GDPR compliant and make sure it's safe. So those are share options if you're wanting to get them out. But you've also got more options hidden here under the ellipses, and if you click those, you've got the option to create a new. Because a lot of time and energy often goes into making a sway that suits the particular needs of the audience, you can duplicate it and then amend it instead of you having to build up those cards from scratch. But what you could also do is, if you did use it for things like a newsletter, you could save it as a base template and then customize out that template every week when you come to it, instead of reopening the same sway and then editing it and then ending up overwriting it. You can print out your sway if it comes out as a PDF. It sort of defeats the whole purpose of having a moving animated flow. And then what you end up with is you end up with a very static PDF to print out, and it doesn't have anywhere near the same impact. That PDF ends up being downloaded, so you can then just you can use it. Some of the other options you've got in here is you can export your sway. So if you wanted to export it out of Office 365, you hit the export box. You can choose to export it out as a Word document. You can export it out as a PDF, or they're two options at the moment. There are more coming on the development roadmap, but PDF and Word is there. Really, if you're printing it and it prints as a PDF, there may be no point going into exporting there as a PDF. You could also change the settings for the sway itself. So you can change the languages that are available in here. So you can have other languages. So if you knew that you needed to have German, for instance, let's say German there is an option. You might want to show text direction buttons, and you can use layouts that suit in that way. So I'll show you the options there. You can have languages in any language you want across the world almost. There's a few that aren't included, but Microsoft are adding more all the time. You can also change the view settings so that viewers and co-authors can duplicate that sway, or if you want to be you as the person only person that can duplicate. You untick that one, and then you've got more granular options underneath. You could also have that viewers can change the layout of the sway, and you may want to disable that, particularly if it's a newsletter, because you aren't going to want parents that find that option remixing it for you on your behalf. And you can also show information in the footer down the bottom. Autoplay can be used so that when people click the link and they open it, the whole thing starts to scroll and move through with a few seconds after they have the link clicked. So it might say, look, after 25 seconds, it starts moving on its own. It's okay in some instances where you want it to do that, and actually you want people not to have the job of scrolling up and down. But most of the time, I've tended to leave that one off. So I'm going to come out of those. And then you've also got an accessibility checker in here so that you can have the alternative text sizes in how it would lay out. You could also change the sizes of images to make sure that if you've got people that are using this that are visually impaired, that they've got the way to check the accessibility in there too. So going down even further, you can then check your accessibility view. So if you've made the text a lot larger, I haven't particularly played around with the text because I don't want to waste your time this afternoon, but you can go back and you see if you show size 78 text, you can go and see what it looks like in accessibility view compared to the normal view. You can go back in, you can exit accessibility view, or you can stay in there and edit further still. And if I come out of that one and go down to this one, if you do get stuck, there is a help center, and that help center will take you out to documents that you are going to get trained on how to use various aspects of creating sways, or even watch tutorials on how to create them at the same time. So at the end of all of this, you will end up building up a repertoire of sways. To get back to them, you click the sway button on the top left-hand corner. And then here in My Sways, you'll see the sways that you've recently edited. If you've viewed any other sways, they would appear there. I haven't. You can also get analytics for the time that people have spent viewing your sways, how long they've spent on each article. That's quite useful as well. And also when you've deleted them, they will stay in the recycle bin for up to 30 days. So if you need to retrieve them back out and get them back in again, you can do that from there. They're not permanently deleted. You could also start from a template. So if you were creating a newsletter, as we've spoken about it quite a lot this afternoon, you can open up a newsletter template. And then once you're in there, click Start Editing This Sway, and it's already got some predefined options about the layout and the types of cards that are used. And all you need to do is change things like pictures or the text in the boxes. So it means that you don't have to go through the process of building your own cards in sections. They're all there done for you. And if you decided, look, actually, I don't want this section about additional information, go here. You just press the recycle bin up in the corner and it will take it away, and you'll lose that whole card and all the other cards within it. So you can choose how much of that content you want to keep. And just like before, you've got the design and the remix options in there. You could change the styles as well. So there's lots of scope to quickly move these around. So with all that in mind, I'm going to throw it open to questions and say, for what you're doing in school at the moment, are there any questions relating to your particular role? Anything this afternoon that I've covered where you think, oh, actually, I'd like to know a little bit more about that, or I want to revisit that area of the presentation. So either type your questions into the chat box in the middle of the Teams meeting, or you can unmute and just talk to me. No questions. Usually someone's got a few. Anything at all? No? Okay. All right, what I'll do is I will swap over, and what I will do is I will give you the code that I promised you at the beginning to redeem, to say that you've come along to this Sway training and that you have qualified to redeem your points on the Microsoft Education Centre. I'll drop that into the chat so that you can pick that up and copy it in yourself. So that you could also make sure that if other colleagues are going to watch this video, and it's going to be something that they are going to look at afterwards, because we will record these and make these available in the events section of the Turn On website. They can also redeem that code if you share it with them. The code is there in chat now. So I'll remain here in the training session for a few more minutes while people redeem that code. And if you've got any individual questions as people drift away and you didn't want to ask in front of the group, that's absolutely fine. Please do ask. But otherwise, I say thank you for coming along this afternoon. Please have a go at using Sways. They've got so many different uses across schools, and they really make for an interesting presentation or an interesting letter or an interesting production booklet, however you want to use them. They suit so many different purposes. And we will be running future webinars. So the next one of the webinars in these series where you signed up for this one is going to be Minecraft Education Edition. If you'd like to come along to that, please do book to come in, and that's in about 2 weeks' time. But we will also be running more of these after Christmas. So thank you for all coming along this afternoon, and I may see some of you again soon.